I did not pay a penny out of my pocket for childcare for them. So it was uni who was paying for childcare all through.
Wait. I am not getting it.
Obviously, you don't call them Mister. I just call him his name. Papa, I'm done. I'm not coming back. Oh, when you can't do that? Sorry, I'm house. That was me. And I never looked back. No, at some point I started talking to her. And she was like, "Oh, she lives in a residential place. She does this." I just love the fact I know I'm able to speak to her. And every time she comes, she always wants me to pack her shopping. That was how I started thinking about going into a care job.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. In my last session with Wemimo, also known as That Mom of 5, she really spoke extensively about how she was able to settle down in Scotland. If you have not watched that video, I highly recommend that you go ahead and watch it after this video. Now, I still got her on the channel today, and today she's going to be talking to us about her experience of studying nursing in the United Kingdom and all the good stuff. So let's welcome her back to the channel once again. So welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another episode.
Thank you for having me. I'm super delighted.
In the last episode, we've understood a bit about you, your profession before, and how you actually got into care. So at what point did you feel like, yes, you wanted to go in to study nursing? At what point did you feel you wanted to become a nurse?
I started my first care job in a care home in December of 2016, and when my first week there, I was super excited. I was given an in-house training, and I never at some point thought I would ever experience there's a place where elderly people, frail people are being looked after, because I've never visited a care home before. I do see elderly people walking about, but actually being in a place with multiple people. Some are not really frail. Some maybe they've got dementia, they've got Parkinson's and stuff like that. But the one that actually shook me the most was seeing people at that stage of their life, that's where they're going to spend the end part of their lives. Because as a Nigerian, we don't have anything like that back home in Nigeria. Our elderlies live with us at home. So I would go home and I would cry like, oh God, is that how I'm going to look like when I'm that age? The oldest in that care home was 98 years old, so, and then my first week was really, really fine. I would go in there, take my time with them, give them a wash, do everything. And then the second week, I was starting to observe some not really good things from other staff members, the way they treat some of the residents. They would shout. Well, there was one particular one, she would shout at a particular lady, and I'm like, come, this patient, she's an elderly, she's 88, she has dementia, she has breast cancer, stop shouting at her now, this that. So every time we both go in together, because she's an assistant of 2, every time we both go in together, I just don't like the way she treats the resident, and I'll say, okay, you know what, just go, I will look after her. Like I'm confident that I'll be able to look after her. And then this resident would not let the other care member look after her. She would shout, she would scream, saying she should go, and I'm like, you know what, go. So that kind of I was like, I don't like her doing that, So by the second week, third week, and I was like, I really want to do this in a professional way. Like I really want to become a nurse. So the nurse in the home happened to be a male, and I was like, John, I really want to be a nurse. How do I go about it? And we're like, well, you've only been here 3 weeks. And like, yeah. Why? And we're like, why? And I was like, it's just I want to be able to do this the right way, professionally. Like, see that one that was shouting at her. If I was in the ward and you shout at my patient like that, I'll get you booked. So you were like, yeah, you can do it, and you just need to have this, you need to have that. Like I have a first degree, and we're like, oh, that's great. You just need to go to college and do access to nursing, do it for a year, and then you can go straight to uni from there. And I'm like, is that all? He said yes. All right, okay. So this other girl that I don't like the way she treats patients as well. So I was speaking to her. She was like, yeah, well, you can actually do it. So she was saying to me, you can actually apply to college for access to nursing or HSCK and administrative practice. Those are the courses that, if you've never studied nursing before, you can do like a foundation course before you go into nursing. Like, yeah, why not? So I got home that night, got onto my laptop, started applying. So there was a college that I really wanted to go. So I applied to access to nursing, which is just like the lowest of lowest foundational courses to get into nursing. So, and I applied to another college because I was speaking to somebody else. She was like, why not apply to the HNCK and my administrative practice? Because you already have a degree. You've already studied at level 10. Why do you want to go and start at level 6, which is a foundational course, access to nursing? I was like, I don't know, because I did not study all this nursing courses. You must have physics, you must have biology. And like biology, I studied 18 years ago. That if you ask me anything about reproductive system or cardiovascular system, I can't tell you anything. You know, she was like, let me apply. So I applied to another college also. So by the time it was time for interview, I got an email from the first college saying, because I sent them all of my previous record of education. They were like, you've already studied at level 10. We will be happy to invite you for an interview to study at level 7, which is HNCK and administrative practice. Right. And I was like, yeah, why not? So I went for that interview. They were like, the only question I have for you is, will it be an issue for you if you have to report at a placement for 7 o'clock in the morning? I'm like, no. As long as I know where I'm going, I'll be there. If you want me to be there for 6 o'clock, I'll be there for 6 o'clock. And she was like, you've got kids. How will you manage? I'm like, I've got my husband, he'll be able to help me out. And if at all, like 4 or 5 of them, they are all in schools, then all of them are all in school, so there won't be any issue. She was like, I'm happy to offer you the admission. There and there, she offered me the admission to study HNCK administrative practice. So, and again, I worked at that care home for like 12 weeks. After 12 weeks, I stopped working there, applied to another place, like a residential care home as well. So with this one, all you do is just like, people are living in a sheltered flat. You just help them with their shopping. You go on to like prompt them in terms of their medication. If they have an appointment, you take them to that appointment. That was what I was doing with them. So I was there as well in fact, I did multiple care jobs in between, and I really enjoyed the support worker side of it the more, because that one is like, you had like office-based business, earning about 30 grand a year, just doing 37 hours a week, So that was the last job I did before I eventually started college. But they wouldn't allow me working part-time while I studied at college, because they were like, support worker, it has to be a full-time job, and I enjoyed that job a lot. So this particular job, I was working with women who abuse alcohol, who kind of like, are into prostitution, but then they're kind of like, being rehabilitated so that they can go back into the community. So that I was working with them, and I enjoyed doing that job. So eventually I stopped, and then I started college. So I started my HSC care and administrative practice. So that was how I embarked on my, nursing course. So I did that for a year, and then I was able to get a reference to go for second year into nursing. But like, no, I'd rather start as a first year. Reason being that I struggle with sociology and physiology. I've never studied sociology before. I've never studied psychology before. So I had to rewrite 2 of my essays while at college. I was like, no. And then I already found out from uni that we're going to be studying psychology and sociology as part of our first or second year course. That I'd rather start year 1 so that I have a better understanding. Because while I decided to go for first year was because, again, when my first degree, I went straight into third year. I struggled a lot because what they were teaching me while at college was totally different from what I got taught when I went to third year. I struggled. So I was like, no, I don't want that to repeat itself again. How I was even able to graduate safe, I don't even understand. But so from that experience, I said like, no, my lecturer was like, Wemi, you are great. Look at your grades. I'm like, nah, first year, just write me the reference for first year, please. I'm fine. So yeah, that was how I completed that module. And to the glory of God, I went into nursing and almost done now.
So you studied nursing when you were already a resident in the UK. So it definitely might be different for people who are coming directly as international students. But still, I know that I still have some people on the channel who are residents in the UK and might be considering studying nursing. So what was the cost implication of you studying nursing in Scotland?
Right, so I have to go back to when I went back to college. So when I went back to college, I applied for the government to pay for my fees because I'm an home student. So normally, if you're either on a low income job or you're not working, if you want to go to school, the government pays for your education. So I was refused. They refused to pay my education fee, my tuition fees, because they said I already studied previously, and that the only way they would pay for my funding is for me to pay for this, and then when I go into the next course, into the next degree that I want to go, then I could apply for that. Reason was because I had information technology, so basically I'm just doing another HNC course, even though it was care and administrative practice. But they said no, that I will have to be the one to fund this myself because it's like a foundational course. So I had to fund that course for myself. I paid £1,650, which was the cost of tuition fee for that course at college. So I did like on a pay instrumentally, and that instrumentally was technically not out of my pocket because I was getting bursary from the college. So the bursary was practically paying for my tuition fees that way because I was working part-time then.
Right.
So when I decided to go on to apply to uni, so uni nursing is being funded by the government, just like I said, because they are looking for lots of nurses due to the shortage of nurses in the UK right now. So nursing courses in Scotland is totally funded by the UK government.
Wow.
So they paid for my tuition fees, which is 1,650 or 2,750. The government paid for that. I get bursary, which I don't have to pay back.
Right.
So they paid me bursary. They were paying me childcare. So in a year, let's say for instance, childcare for entire, I think I applied for 3 kids. So if my childcare was $7,000, the childcare has a certain amount, like a limited fund. So you can't get more than, let's say for example, $5,000. So the remaining 2,500 and something, you have to pay that out of your pocket. Okay. Because they already have a fixed amount they will pay for childcare. If you like have 20 children, it's none of their business. They already have a fixed amount they will give somebody who has 1 child.
Right.
That's what they will give to somebody who have 2 children and multiple children. So when that happened to me, I have to go back to uni and ask for discretionary funding for childcare. So the remaining part of it to complete for my childcare funding, uni was paying that. So nothing was coming out of my pocket at the same time again.
Wow.
So uni and SARS, practically the government were jointly paying for childcare for me, and you were giving me bursary of about £580. So the bursary is 10,000 per annum. I don't think student nurses in England gets that anyway, because I've heard of UPRA that nursing students are not being given bursary or something. So in Scotland, we get bursary that we don't have to pay back, and it's £10,000 per annum.
You have really enjoyed Scotland. Like I see why a lot of people say Scotland is just the best in the UK.
It's second Canada, if we call it that way.
Like you people are just balling. Like we are balling anyhow.
No, it's a matter of there's lots of opportunities. If you don't make use of it, you will just be by the roadside. That's just what I feel.
But if you know how to make use of it,
definitely. I just, if I had to go do it on my own, I'll be spending lots of money, and I see the opportunity, and I'm like, why not make use of it?
Wow.
Yeah.
And those opportunities will likely not be available to you if I
was not settled. No, it wouldn't. And if you are in England, you won't get bursary. Like I said, I don't think student nurses are getting bursary in England.
I don't think so.
They are not getting it. No. Wow. So in Scotland, we are fortunate that we are getting that. So all throughout my 3-year course, I get the yearly bursary, and it's been paid instrumentally over 12 months. So the first, like in September, we get double payment. That's like extra money, and then the remaining money you get it all through the year. So even summer period, we get paid all through summer and stuff. Yeah.
You've graduated now. You are now a registered.
Yeah, I'm just waiting. So I finished there. We are waiting I just waiting to find out if it's still a distinction or not. But it's definitely a distinction because I have calculated my numbers myself. Yay. I am graduating with distinction. Even though I already have a job waiting for me, I mean, they are willing for me to start as a band 4, but obviously the exam boards of my uni are still delegating all the results. So once they release all the results, let me know what my pass rate or whatever is, then that is what I need to give to my employer. Right. So I could start as a band 4. I mean, they are happy for me to start before my pin arrives. So, but they really need to get that uni exam to say that, oh yeah, she passed all of her academic works. She's not carried over anything, so she's happy to start. So that's just what I'm waiting for now.
So what would you say was your worst experience studying nursing in the United Kingdom?
Worst experience?
If you've got any.
I'll just want to say, to be honest, there's none. The only thing I would probably say was that racism is real. They tried it with me. But like I always said before on my channel as well, that once you start your placement, make sure you're using your first 2 weeks to work with the healthcare support workers, because they are the They are the janitor of the ward. They know every nook and cranny of the ward. And for me, I've had the loveliest of them all. They've all been great, from the younger ones to the older ones, like the crazy older ones. Those ones you will learn a lot from them. Don't say because you want to become a nurse, you want to see how they are drawing blood, you want to see how they are giving blood. No, for me, it's going to come. So the first 2 weeks of any placement I attend, I make sure I was working with the healthcare support workers, and then that way I'm learning few bits. They'll be able to share with you what's happening. All of their communicated, they'll be able to share with you while you are taking your time. So by the second week, me too, I know what's going on in here. And by then, while I'm learning, I'm giving them my flashlight bit by bit. You don't flash everything on their face. Give them bit by bit. So I think why I've actually not had a major instances was because they know, obviously, from me working with all these healthcare support assistants for the first 2 weeks, they talk about you as a student. That's one thing I want to pass across to you. Then they talk about you as a student. All these nurses, they have their WhatsApp group and stuff. They talk about you. And for the fact that how I know it was because obviously from several experiences. So I think there was a time I almost had an experience of like being treated as if, So immediately this person said it, I just looked at her and then she apologized straight away. And all this issue of being called the student, or they want to do something like, you can ask the student. I'm like, the student, I've got a name. That's why I called you. I said my name is Wemi. If you can't produce Wemimo, if you can't pronounce Wemimo, Wemi, Wemi. It's simple. Stop referring to me as the student. So I think I come across to them as a very strong and fierce person. So I've really not had like terrible experiences, and I'm very, very outspoken. Just like I said, I give them a little bit of flashlight.
I think that's very important.
Yeah.
One really needs to be outspoken.
Yes.
When you are not speaking out,
she doesn't
easily step down if you are not speaking out. Yeah.
And for me, one thing again that I've cautioned myself from doing on most of my placement was that if they're having any conversations, no matter how juicy the conversation might be, please don't input your opinion. Because if you input your opinion, they will now focus on your opinion, and eventually you will get into trouble. So that's what I've learned. So I might just
yes,
you are probably right.
Just smile back.
Exactly. But fighting your opinion, especially if it's a tricky conversation in regards to LGBT, all this stuff, please don't hear your opinion. Even if you agree, even if you don't agree, just zip it. You don't want to share it. So that's one thing.
Right.
I mean, there are other instances. So that's one thing I've learned. Like, you don't always have to input your opinion when they are having their cup of tea and having a chat. No, don't do it.
Thanks for that tip. So what would you say is your most memorable, most happiest day studying in the United Kingdom as a nurse?
I would say my last placement, which was my management placement, it was within the theaters. So I actually went into this theater and see how a hip replacement was being done. I saw a hip replacement surgery. I saw a knee replacement surgery. And by the third day, I was able to decide which one I loved the most to watch. And I was like, you know what? Hip replacement is quite brutal. I think the knee one is better. And my mentor was looking at me like, because that was just my third day. And I already knew, like, okay, I'll prefer to work with a surgeon who does knee surgery rather than hip, because if they are twisting as if you're in abattoir, the way they twist it, I was like, nah, So while being on that placement, I was able to see some lung surgeries, like when they do lumpectomy, when they take half of your lungs out or stuff like that. And when patients come out, they are often very, 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 very sick. So I would say the memory part was being allowed to take hold of my own patient, because all of us, we are all in scrubs. The surgeons can't tell if you are a student or if you are a staff nurse. We are all wearing green scrubs. So the patients will come out. They will call beforehand, like 3 minutes before they come out of surgery, like, oh, theater 10 is coming out, like, oh, and I'm always the one who's always answering the call. Theater 10, right? Okay, Webby, do you want to take theater 10? So obviously I've got 2 assessors, and so the good thing was that by the fourth week, I was being allowed to take on my own patient, which on most of my placement I've never been allowed to do. Right. And even though I feel confident in doing it, so being allowed to take on my patients, I was just happy doing it, and they were like, you know what, I've got no issues with you. Just carry on. The only thing I couldn't do was give what was all these called drugs called oxy-MRs, oxy-IRs. I can't remember what they are being called now. Those drugs I can't really give them because obviously I'm not registered yet. So if I need to give any stronger painkillers, I will have to ask the staffs to go get it, and then they'll be the one to administer it. So everything else I was doing it. Make sure vitals are okay. Am I happy with patient recovery? If I'm happy with the patient recovery, call the ward, let them come get the patient. How the patient goes, I'm ready for the next patient. So that's the most memorable moment of my placement for me.
So do you have a specialty in mind?
I would love to specialize in cardiology because I had a placement in cardiology for 12 weeks, and I loved it, even though I hate the cardiovascular system. If you ask me how the blood runs through the heart, please don't ask me that question. I've still not mastered it.
But you want to specialize in cardiology? I
want to specialize in cardiology because you see quite a lot. You see heart bypass being done, you see arteries being replaced, you see heart catheters being put in place. Like, you know, I from that placement I learned that having a heart attack does not mean you're going to die. Mm-hmm. It just means that your heart needs a bit of, intervention. And I've seen people like that.
When you see a lot of conditions that when they are diagnosed back home, it means death sentence.
That's the end of the world. Yeah,
I'm telling you. And you get here 10 years.
And it's just like a piece of 45 minutes. They are done.
They are still living 20 years after 30 years. They are still living. Whereas if it's back home, like you receive that diagnosis,
the stress alone the stress alone for that patient will mean downward for that patient back home in Nigeria. But here, it just means your heart just needs a little bit of help, and they get it done. I mean, I saw a patient who had a heart bypass at the age of 9 months, and I saw him when he was at the age of 16 during my placement, and he's doing absolutely fab. Even though he's passing through a lot of family issues, but they are not relenting because someone has to die for him to have that heart. And the main purpose, the main job of that surgeon is to make sure that heart lives for as long as it's meant to live. Mm-hmm. So it's really crazy, but it's where I would love to specialize in. Yeah.
Right. Wow. I wish you all the very best. Do you have any final words for people who are looking to study nursing? Probably they are already in the UK, or they are just planning to come in as international students, whether in Scotland or England. I know you asked them to go to Scotland.
That was, in fact, I was already thinking that. Right. My words would be that wherever you may be, as long as you've got your residence permit, the sky is just your starting point. There's lots of opportunities available for you. If you don't know, go to your nearest Citizens Advice Bureau. You'll be given loads of information about what you can actually access, regardless of whether you're working or not working. And if you're already here, if you're settled, or you're an international student who wants to come study nursing, please come to Scotland. Come to Scotland, okay? As an international student, I know you are paying as an international student, and there's job prospects. Like, it's not like me after studying my first degree, I was struggling to get a job. Like, studying nursing, uni just made sure that we got interviewed by different NHS boards. Like, I got offered a job role even before I'm even qualified. Like, I've got 6 months to qualify, and I already had a job from the first interview. So now I have 2 jobs. I'm looking to turn one down because I've never worked in the hospital before. I'm not going there. But the one I've taken is the one that majority of my placements, I had them there, and that's where I'm taking up the job. So come to Scotland, and there's a job prospect for you at the end of your course, either as a home student or as an international student. There's a job waiting for you. And one thing I would say is this: nursing is hard. I have to tell you that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it with you. Every time I say to people that
there's no sugarcoating.
There's no sugarcoating. It's hard. You have to, most words, you have to report by 7:15, 7:30. So if you're not driving, I've shared a story on my channel whereby where I lived to my other place where it was about, normally if you drive it's about 45 minutes, but during COVID, it was taking almost 2 hours. I was leaving home at 4:50 in the morning to get on the bus because my car had an issue, and it was with an o'clock, and it was taking forever. and there was no way I could get on the public bus. So I had to go on public bus because I couldn't get my car. I was leaving home at 10 minutes before 5 a.m. in the morning to take the bus that will come from like 20 minutes away that will pass in front of my house. And there's a probability during COVID that, because during COVID there's only 50, they can only take 15 passengers. There's a possibility that by the time that bus gets to my bus stop, 15 passengers are already there.
Yeah.
And that time the bus will not even stop to take COVID. It will just zoom away, you know. And then I'll get to that placement that time about 6 o'clock. The bus that will take me to the hospital does not start until 6:25, and I will do a 25 minutes walk to that hospital. And by the time I get there by 6:30, I'm like, I'm tired before I start a 12-hour shift. And then I probably won't get home till 9 p.m. at night, knowing that I'm going back out again following morning.
You start thinking about all the experiences. Eh?
Hey. Nothing is hard. It's hard, especially if you've got children. It's hard because there have been times that I've left home very early in the morning and I'm wondering if my kids arrived at school. And one thing I always do every time I get to my placement is speak to any of the child nurses or whoever my mentor is. I know I've got kids, and I have to help them. I've got 5, and I'll have to keep my phone on me because I need to be sure my kids are safe at school, or if the school have to call me. And we're like, that's absolutely fine. It's okay, no problem at all. If you need to go at any time, do let us know. And it's not all placement that will be as accommodating as that, but that's one thing I've always done. When you start, especially if you've got children, let them know. Because if they catch you with your phone in the corner, they will report you, you know. So yeah, that's the things I just want to share. Nursing is a very, very rewarding job, even though they're not paying us what they're supposed to be paying us, but Kids Daniels more way, more way. Like this job, I've decided that the word is not for me, just as you've decided that the word care home is not for you. Where I'm taking up this job now, we don't do night shifts, we don't do weekends, and maybe you only do Saturday once every 2 months. And if you want to do overtime, there's lots of it for you. So yeah, there might be pay difference in those of you who do night shift and stuff, but it's a job too. It doesn't give you stress at all.
Please.
It doesn't give you stress. I'm like, you know what? As a newly qualified, I'm happy to start there.
You want to start with that?
Yeah.
When you're starting with no stress, how you die? No work at all, you know.
So I mean, obviously, I've been on the cardiac ward, the cardiology department. It was a ward, and I was there for 12 weeks. So they were doing night shift, early shift. They were doing Saturday, Sundays. So I don't want that kind of. At my age, I'll be 40 next year. At my age, I don't want anything that will stress me. I just want to start my 7:30 job in the morning, finish at finish maybe at 5:30 or 6:30. Maximum latest that work late, depending on when. So if you start at 7 in the morning, you finish at 5:30. If you start at 8, you finish at 6:30. If you start at 10 or 9, you finish at 8 o'clock. No night shifts, no Saturday, Sunday, no. Instead of going into a ward, 12 hours on your feet, no sit down.
And you know, that's actually something that a lot of people enjoy. So it depends on people's preferences.
Yeah, I enjoyed
really enjoy doing that. Going for weekends, going for nights, even apart from the monetary, they just like it.
Yeah. And then I think obviously as a newly qualified nurse, handling 6 or 7 patients at a time on your own. Like I've known of other NHS wards of newly qualified nurses who qualified last year. They were having to handle 25 patients as a newly qualified nurse.
Wow.
That to me, it's a no. I was like, nah, there's no way I'm going to survive on that ward. So where I am is just a better place for me. Like, I mean, the hospital where I'm going is known as a private hospital. So they just kind of like his loads from other health boards in Scotland. So if there's a particular health board in Glasgow and there's 10 people waiting for a new operation, this hospital will take 1. Okay, you've got 9, we've got 10, we'll take 1 from you. If there's another hospital who has 20 patients waiting for any surgery, they might take 2. So they're just easing the burden of overloaded other boards. Right. So it's not like a public, like the way that they just take every patient. No. So it's referred to as a private hospital, like a private teaching hospital. So that's why I was like, no, I must get into that place. And I was glad I got into there. And most of the wards, each staff only look after 7 patients. As compared to other healthcare boards where they have like 15 patients, 20 patients. The difference is just it's just clear. The working environment is absolutely lovely there. So
Yeah, that's the main thing. The working environment has to be a good one.
definitely.
Else,
If it's not top notch,
just
that
be
was why I
stressed
thought
and
about the first job they offered me. I was like, I've never been to that hospital before. I've never worked there. I've never, I mean, throughout my placement, I never had any placement there. My uni hardly sent student there for placement. And that's what they've offered me. The same job I got in this other hospital, they offered me theater. And I'm like, I'm not sure. So after I'm gonna be applying the application. I'm gonna withdraw my application anyway. So I'm sorry, I've just found another one. So yeah, so that's just my last word for you. Nothing is hard. You have to be very, very persevering. Like there have been times that I have cried. I have called my personal tutor and say, no, I can't do this anymore. No, I can't. And she'll be like, oh, well, you're actually doing great. I mean, 5 kids, blah blah. There have been people who have dropped out already, but she was like, no, when you are doing great, just think of it. You've only got 9 months. You've only got 9 months to go. And I'm like, oh, that's true, 9 months. All right, okay. I mean, the only issue was just that I hate writing essays. That was my only issue.
essay.
I hate writing essays because your essays you need to do research and stuff like that. I just hate writing essays. So anytime I'm supposed to write essays, my heart something Jehovah, God, hey. So all of those things you have to put that into consideration as well. So nothing is hard. It's enjoyable because you get to see lots of people, you get to see lots of conditions, you see how people live with other conditions as well, and you just see how intervention are being done, and these people are now living a better life. And you also see the other worst cases whereby people don't survive. I mean, since my nursing training so far, in my 3 years, I've only experienced 3 deaths. So which means that the doctors are doing something right, but so far I've only experienced 3. One actually happened with me right there. So
I can't count the number that I experienced when I was in student nurse in Nigeria.
It was hard. So yeah, nursing is a good job. Like yeah, it's kind of like a profession that anywhere you go, you say you are a nurse, people will kind of like look at you like, black woman nurse. When I tell people, that's what they say. How did you do it? How did you survive? I'm like, it's not hard. It's not hard. I think it's only the placement side of it that people tend to like, no, they can't do it. But I mean, if you're kind of like, if you persevere, if you're doing what you're supposed to do at the right time, and if you're on placement, don't do what you're not supposed to do. Like if your unit have not trained you on something and they ask you to do something, please don't do it. Tell them, nah, I've not been trained yet. While at uni, I'm sorry, I can't do it. So yeah, you'll be fine. Mm-hmm.
Wow, thank you so much for taking out time to share with us on my channel today. Thank you so much, guys. She's got a channel, That Mom of 5. I'm going to be leaving it in the description box below. If you need more information about Scotland, life in Scotland, living in Scotland, nursing in Scotland, she's your girl.
Yes, so I'm your plug. I'm your plug.
Go on to our channel and learn more. Thank you so much once again for coming on my channel. I'm grateful.
No worries.
And to my viewers, thank you so much for watching. If you've got any question for her or for me, please leave them all in the comment section and we'll be sure to get to them one after the other. This video showing right up on your screens will be very, very useful. So go ahead, click on them. Thank you so much, and until next time when I see you in my next video.